Greetings family, my name is Toyin Agbetu. Today is the 15th of September 2016. Welcome to the Pan-African Drum News Digest. Now I'm going to start with a tragic story that actually made me want to cry. Earlier this year, Lillian Olok, 36-year-old, and her 2-year-old daughter, Lynn Matumba, were found dead in their one-bedroom flat in Kent. They had starved to death in desperate poverty. Now, this is very hard to believe. An inquest has just found out that Lillian, who had both sickle cell and HIV, was suffering from malnutrition and starvation, whilst Lynn had been dehydrated. Now, how is it possible that a vulnerable mother and a child living in one of the most wealthiest nations in the world can pass due to lack of food? These are the kind of questions that we have to ask today. A group of care workers are suing a local contractor in a battle over minimum wage. The care contractor, Savacare, was paying certain staff in Haringey a rate of £3.27 an hour, which is actually less than half the national minimum wage. The carers said that they were on duty 24 hours a day, sleeping in the same room as clients, but attending to their every need throughout the night. One carer likened the experience to being in prison, whilst another said they felt like being enslaved. Now, I think we've got to ask ourselves, why do so many people ignore the economic abuse of those making sacrifices to look after society's most vulnerable? In many cases, we're talking about elders that rich folk just find it an inconvenience to look after. Please make sure you support these workers, and in that I include the junior doctors who you might know are going on strike, and anyone who's struggling to survive on this artificially imposed climate of austerity which the Tories have brought in. Now this week another police chief, this time diversity head Victor Elisa, said it was accepted practice for police officers to stop young African men to try and boost their arrest rates. Now Elisa, who said he had also experienced racism in the police, revealed how officers were targeting African people, chose to ignore European men who may be carrying cocaine, because obviously weed spliff is an easy bust. Now, what would happen if the Met Police teamed up with the City of London Police and decided to raid all the briefcases and laptops of all the workers coming out of the city on a Friday night? You know, the ones on Liverpool Street, London Bridge, that whole area. I think we know what we'd find inside those laptops and what we'd find inside those briefcases. They just don't do it. Still on policing. The IPCC has said that 5 police officers may face criminal charges following the arrest of university student Julian Cole. Now, he'd been left with a broken neck and put in a vegetative state in Bedford during 2013. One of the officers has already resigned, whilst the other 4 are still on active duty with full pay. Sadly, I have another horrific crime story, although this time the perpetrators are not, surprisingly, police officers. The police have launched a murder investigation after 52-year-old mother of 9, Annie Basala Ekofo, and her 20-year-old nephew, Burville Ekofo, and I apologise if I pronounced it incorrectly, was shot dead. Now, Annie was killed when she answered the door, and Burville was shot while he slept. Family and friends believe it was a case of mistaken identity. Despite all the sad news, there is also cause for some hope. The attacker of 100-year-old Alex Dean Roberts, who was violently assaulted during a robbery on her way home from prayer meeting, has been found and named. The guy's name is Jawad Nasby, and he's been charged for the ruthless mugging outside her front door in Tottenham. Continuing the positive news, a fundraiser launched by Ellie Bailey to return the £300 stolen from the elder has actually now raised over £800. I want to give thanks to the person for doing that. I think it's a sister, and at least that's some good story. Now here's a story that should have gone global, but many are unaware of it. It's the story of a cop in West Virginia who was fired for not killing a man. And that sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? Now, Stephen Mader had responded to a domestic incident report in May when he found himself confronting an armed gunman. Recognising the distressed man was not a threat, he decided not to kill him. And I think when the guy said, "just shoot me," he kind of figured this is a cry for help. Now, despite diffusing the situation, 2 officers later arrived and killed the guy. They later discovered his gun was not loaded. Now, the twist in this tale comes when Mader was later fired by his police chief because in choosing not to murder Mr. Williams, that's the guy, he apparently failed to eliminate a threat. That's their words. Now think about that. Think about all the innocent Africans that the Black Lives Matter campaign, for example, campaigned for, that would be alive if more officers did not automatically see African people, men, women and children as threats. For those looking for Frankenstein stories, scientists are saying that early experiments suggest it may one day be possible to make babies without using eggs. they have succeeded in creating healthy baby mice by tricking sperm into believing they were fertilizing normal eggs. Now, researchers are saying that the findings mean that women can be removed from the baby making process. I don't know about you, but do you really want to live in a world where a man can fertilize his own cells or another man's cells without the need of women? Now, this research is still new, it's a few years away, but it's scary. They have been successful with mice. Okay, and finally, 7 words. Key Faz. Treat me like a bitch. Enough said. Thanks for watching. This has been the Pan-African Drum. May the ancestors continue to guide and protect us. Ashe.